I give the floor to the Secretary General of the United Nations, His Excellency Antonio Guterres.
Mr. President of the General Assembly, Madam President-elect, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us as we close the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly. This session took place during a profoundly tumultuous moment for the human family. Conflicts, divisions, inequalities, poverty, injustices, displacement, hunger, and another year of record-breaking heat. Together, this Assembly faced these challenges and worked to discuss, debate and develop common solutions to address them. All of these milestones were achieved through the leadership of the outgoing President of this 79th session, His Excellency Philemon Yang. He presided over the General Assembly with wisdom, vision and skill, while working to forge multilateral solutions and providing a powerful voice for Africa. One of his very first acts as President was to preside over the Summit of the Future. He helped usher in the Pact for the Future and its implementation through a series of dialogues with Member States. He also rallied countries together across a number of signature events to address issues that are close to his heart, from ending child labour, to addressing the impact of small arms and light weapons on development, to the importance of upholding international humanitarian law. And he also led the launch of a task force to advance multilingualism in the General Assembly. Mr. President, I want to thank you once again for your advice, guidance and commitment to our organization and its values. And I look forward to collaborating with your successor, President-elect Baerbock, as we continue seeking global solutions to global problems. And to do so in this important year, the 80th anniversary of the United Nations and the visionary charter which brought it to life. Excellencies, the founders of this organization in 1945 recognized the fundamental fact: the strength of the United Nations depended on the commitment of countries to look beyond solely national interests and to consider instead that we could achieve by standing as one. This truth is just as important today as it was 80 years ago, and just as effective. There is much to do, and the road ahead is uncertain, so we mark our 80th anniversary, and let's carry this spirit forward and ensure we continue rebuilding trust and delivering results and peace for all people everywhere. Thank you.
I thank the Secretary General. Monsieur le Secrétaire général, Madame la Présidente élue de l'Assemblée générale, Madame Annalena Baerbock, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, nous arrivons au terme de la 79e session de l'Assemblée des Nations Unies. La charge de présider cette noble Assemblée, le Parlement de l'humanité, a été un véritable honneur. J'adresse ma profonde gratitude au gouvernement et au peuple du Cameroun pour avoir présenté ma candidature, au groupe africain pour son soutien, et aux États membres pour m'avoir élu à cette haute responsabilité. La session s'est déroulée dans un contexte marqué par une incertitude croissante. À travers le monde, nous constatons une intensification de conflits de Gaza à Haïti, de Myanmar au Soudan, en passant par l'Ukraine et bien d'autres régions encore. Des inégalités et des injustices qui érodent la confiance que nous avons dans nos institutions. Une crise climatique dont les conséquences frappent le plus durement ceux qui en sont les moins responsables, et les objectifs de développement durable qui s'éloignent dangereusement de leur trajectoire. Pour relever ces défis mondiaux, l'Assemblée générale a confié à la 79e session de mandats importants. Cela a commencé avec l'adoption historique du pacte pour l'avenir en septembre dernier. Afin de faire avancer la mise en œuvre de ce pacte, j'ai convoqué une réunion avec le co-facilitateur de processus intergouvernementaux en insistant sur la nécessité d'intégrer les recommandations du pacte dans leurs travaux respectifs. Cette initiative a été suivie d'une réunion publique avec les organisations de la société civile ainsi que de 3 dialogues informels visant à promouvoir la mise en œuvre du pacte au niveau national. Nous avons été guidés par le pacte et par le thème, et je cite, « L'unité dans la diversité pour l'avancement de la paix, du développement durable et de la dignité humaine partout et pour tous ». Nous avons mené des travaux dans chacun des 3 piliers des Nations unies. Dans le domaine de la paix et de la sécurité, l'Assemblée générale a tenu des réunions consacrées aux conflits les plus urgents à travers le monde. Cela a notamment inclus l'initiative dite du veto concernant la crise au Soudan, ainsi que la situation des droits humains en République populaire démocratique de Corée. Nous avons également décidé de tenir une réunion de haut niveau le 30 septembre sur la situation des musulmans Rohingyas et des autres minorités au Myanmar. Nos actions en faveur de la paix ont sans doute été les plus visibles dans notre appel à la fin de souffrance à Gaza. L'Assemblée générale a poursuivi les discussions dans le cadre de la 10e session extraordinaire d'urgence qui s'est réunie à 3 reprises. En juillet, l'Assemblée a convoqué la conférence internationale de haut niveau pour le règlement pacifique de la question de Palestine et la mise en œuvre de la solution à 2 États. Cette conférence reprendra ses travaux pour sa session de clôture à l'occasion de la prochaine semaine de haut niveau, ce mois de septembre. L'Assemblée a également repris sa 11e session extraordinaire d'urgence, au cours de laquelle 2 solutions ont été adoptées, appelant à une paix juste et durable en Ukraine, conformément à la Charte des Nations unies. Notre 2e pilier d'action, la défense des droits humains, a revêtu une urgence nouvelle en cette année, marquée par des reculs préoccupants. Alors que nous commémorions le 60e anniversaire de la Convention internationale sur l'élimination de toutes les formes de discrimination raciale, les États membres ont affirmé que l'égalité ne doit pas seulement être une promesse, mais une réalité concrète. L'Assemblée a également lancé la 2e décennie internationale de personnes d'ascendance africaine. Elle a décerné le prix Nelson Mandela à deux lauréats dont les parcours incarnent l'héritage de justice, de compassion et de réconciliation laissé par Madiba. Ces initiatives ont rappelé avec force que la promotion et la protection des droits humains exigent une vigilance constante. C'est dans cet esprit que je me suis rendu à Genève pour m'adresser à la 58e session du Conseil des droits de l'homme en appelant à une action collective face aux violations. Excellences, abordant le troisième pilier de notre action, le développement durable, l'Assemblée a mis l'accent sur des outils essentiels pour accélérer la réalisation des objectifs de développement durable. La réussite de la 4e conférence sur le financement du développement a marqué un tournant majeur. Son résultat, le compromis de Séville, offre un cadre pour combler le déficit de 4 milliards de dollars nécessaires au financement des objectifs de développement durable. Les appels au partenariat ont également retenti lors de la 3e conférence des Nations Unies sur les pays en développement sans littoral et la 3e conférence des Nations Unies sur l'océan. J'ai également eu l'honneur de représenter l'Assemblée lors de la lecture historique de l'avis consultatif de la Cour internationale de justice sur le changement climatique à La Haye. L'Assemblée a également œuvré à réduire les fractures numériques en favorisant un processus inclusif et transparent pour la mise en œuvre du pacte numérique mondial. Je salue la création d'un panel scientifique international indépendant sur l'intelligence artificielle ainsi que l'initiative du dialogue mondial sur la gouvernance de l'intelligence artificielle. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in addition to galvanizing energies for the execution of mandates, I undertook signature events that reflected my priorities for the session. The first event was an informal, interactive dialogue organized with the International Committee of the Red Cross on preserving human dignity in armed conflict. For the second, I convened the Interparliamentary Union hearing on scaling up action on the Sustainable Development Goals. The third event, held in partnership with the Economic and Social Council, focused on small arms and light weapons control for preventing violence and advancing sustainable development. The fourth, convened jointly with the International Labour Organization, focused on the elimination of child labor in all its forms, including forced recruitment and use of children in armed conflict. For the fifth event, I convened the high-level thematic debate on the future of peacekeeping in Africa. And with focus on digitalization, I convened the multi-stakeholder dialogue on the new partnership with Africa as my final signature event. Throughout, I maintained a priority focus on gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls, rely on the good counsel of my advisory board on gender equality. Aligned with these commitments, I prioritized efforts to foster dialogue and build trust. I took a keen interest in the reform of the Security Council, building on calls within the Pact for the Future to encourage the full United Nations membership to put forward models for reform. In this regard, I met with all groups of intergovernmental negotiations process. During my visit to Addis Ababa, I met with the heads of state and government of the Committee of 10 of the African Union. I subsequently gathered the Committee of 10 ambassadors representing the African group in New York, and I was represented by my chef de cabinet at the Committee of 10 ambassadorial meeting in Sierra Leone and the ministerial meeting in Zambia. I strongly welcome recent developments such as the recent adoption of the African model, the presentation of a model for the Caribbean community, and Liechtenstein's revised model during this session. I hope to see Africa's model presented during the intergovernmental negotiations process in the 80th session. Similarly, I convened parliamentary dialogues bringing fresh light to the issues of multilingualism, the role of the General Assembly in peace and security, the role of women in mediations and peace processes, and strengthening multilateralism. The last dialogue built on the momentum of several meetings I facilitated among the presidents of the General Assembly, the Economic and Social Council, and more recently the Secretary General. To expand access to the global conversation, I made multilingualism an important part of my agenda. I am grateful to my office's Multilingualism Task Force, whose efforts enabled the translation of the Pact for the Future into 33 languages. Your Excellencies, the General Assembly meeting to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the signing of the United Nations Charter last June marked a moment of collective reaffirmation of the enduring spirit of San Francisco and of the timeless principles that give life to our organization. Member states made clear that in spite of rising global conflicts, the Charter and the United Nations itself represent a collective promise for a better future world. This is a promise we must fulfill. We have a moral obligation to do so. In March, the Secretary General launched his UN80 initiative to make our organization more successful. I convened 3 briefings to hear updates from the Secretary General and his team, and I proposed to establish an informal ad hoc working group on the mandate implementation review issue. The General Assembly successfully established the working group in one of its final decisions of the session last week. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, none of this I did alone. We worked as a team. I express my profound gratitude to Secretary General Antonio Guterres and the entire United Nations system for their support and cooperation throughout this session. My sincere appreciation to the General Committee, chairs of the main committees, co-facilitators and co-chairs, as well as the vice presidents who guided the General Assembly's work whenever called upon to do so. To my cabinet, including my chef de cabinet and deputy chef de cabinet, I offer my deepest gratitude. Bravo. Your long hours and belief in our shared mission have powered this session forward. I express particular thanks to those member states that generously provided support and seconded their capable diplomats and staff to my office. Finally, I extend my warmest congratulations to the President-elect of the 80th session. Madam, may you take the General Assembly to new heights. You will be successful. The great statesman Kenneth Kaunda of Zambia once said, and I quote, "Ambition never comes to an end," end of quote. May our collective ambition endure. Our future needs that. Let us prove that multilateralism can deliver faster and smarter for everyone, everywhere. Thank you. We are now coming to the end of the 79th regular session of the Assembly. May I invite representatives to stand and observe 1 minute of silent prayer or meditation. I invite Her Excellency Annalena Baerbock, President-elect of the 80th session of the Assembly, to take an oath of office in accordance with Resolution 70/305 of 13 September 2016. The President-elect will take the oath using the original United Nations Charter signed on 24th June 1945 in San Francisco, which was brought to New York from Washington, D.C. for the exhibition on the 80th anniversary of the Charter. After spending 2.5 months for visitors to see, the Charter has been moved to the second floor of the conference building for heads of state and government to see and will remain on display through to the end of the month.
I solemnly declare that I shall truthfully perform my duties and exercise the functions entrusted to me as President of the General Assembly of the United Nations, in all loyalty, discretion, and conscience, and that I shall discharge these functions and regulate my conduct with the interest of the United Nations only in view and in accordance with the Charter of the United Nations and in the Code of Ethics for the President of the General Assembly, without seeking or accepting any instruction in regard to the performance of my duties from any government or other source external to the organization.
I thank the President-elect of the 80th session. I invite the President-elect of the 80th session to meet me at the site of the rostrum for the handing over of the gavel after I adjourn the meeting. I declare closed the 79th session of the General Assembly. The meeting is adjourned.
So impressive. You're waiting for the UNGA. It's good to see all of you.
what? Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for waiting so patiently. As you know, just moments ago, the 79th session ended, and now we have sworn in the new president of the 80th session of the UN General Assembly. She will be making very brief remarks, and she has time for about 3 questions. She will be speaking this afternoon. We have shared her embargoed remarks, and so you will be hearing much more from her, but she has a very tight schedule this afternoon. And so without further ado, Her Excellency Annalena Baerbock.
So greetings also from my side to everybody. Good to be here. I'm thankful and feel very honored of presiding over the UN General Assembly for the next year, the 80th session. Being sworn in on the original UN Charter reminds us what the world can achieve together. But looking from Gaza to Ukraine and to Sudan, Haiti reminds us as well how many times we have failed to deliver on its promises on peace and security, human rights and justice, and sustainability. We currently stand at a crossroad. The UN is under pressure financially and politically. This is why the 80th session is no ordinary session. Our job, 80 years after the UN's creation, back then also in a world with divide, is to keep our United Nations alive, to strengthen it, and to make the UN fit for the 21st century. Our job in this 80th session is to show 8 billion people why this organization still matters. Will that be easy? Definitely not. But I'm convinced we need the United Nations more than ever. Despite all the challenges, in no way would we be better off without the UN. In the upcoming months, I look forward to working together with all member states in this endeavor to strengthen our United Nations, to strengthen our UN Charter, to make a tangible difference in the lives of the people we serve. When I was elected, I made a commitment to the 193 member states that as the President of the General Assembly, I will be an impartial but passionate advocate of the United Nations, always guided by the UN Charter. In the spirit of this, the theme of the 80th session is "We are better together." I thank you.
Madam President, do you expect a vote next week to allow President Abbas to speak by video?
Just a moment, please. Yes.
Bisana Bakwik with Al Jazeera Arabic. Congratulations on your position. You just started this job, and you're speaking about the failure of maintaining peace and security. And just this morning, we've seen a violation of the sovereignty of another country by Israel by attacking Qatar. Do you have any comment on that?
This underlines that this 80th session is no normal session. The escalation of today is obviously concerning, and I call on all parties to exercise maximum restraint. As required by our UN Charter, the sovereignty and territorial integrity of all member states must be respected and not violated by any member states. We do not need more tension in the region, but intensified diplomatic efforts towards an immediate and permanent ceasefire, an improvement of the humanitarian situations for the civilians in Gaza by the Israeli government, and the release of all hostages held by Hamas.
We have a question here.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you. Abdelhamid Sayam from the Arabic daily Al-Quds Al-Arabi. Madam President, do you distance yourself from the statement you gave when you were Foreign Minister of Germany, when you condone Israel attacking civilian property, civilian hospitals, civilian schools? Do you distance yourself from that statement? Thank you.
Well, first of all, I would like to ask you, also know here that you cite correctly. There's no quotation at all from myself not in my former part, not today. Today, I'm speaking as the President of the UN General Assembly and representing 193 member states. But again, this quote is not a quote I ever gave.
Orders, please.
Do you expect a vote next week in the General Assembly to allow the Palestinian president to address the General Assembly the following week via video?
This UN institution we are supposed to celebrate this year for its 80th anniversary was provided for being a place where nations from all the world can meet and work to collectively, not least to address the world's most pressing problems. And according to the headquarters agreement, the host country should grant access to all delegations as per standard practice over the past 8 decades to participate in the UN General Assembly and also the high-level week.
Okay. Thank you all so much. I'm so sorry the PGA's schedule. She has to move on now, but there will be many opportunities to engage with her, and she very much looks forward to engaging with you all. Thank you so much.